The grandma of street food, a Michelin-recognized restaurant in an old movie house, and how to find the best mango sticky rice. This week, we're in Bangkok, Thailand.
Traveling the world to bring you delicious dishes, tasty beverages, and interesting experiences. This is the Destination Eat Drink Podcast on the Radio Misfits Podcast Network.
I'm Brent Peterson. Welcome to Destination Eat Drink, the travel podcast for foodies. Destination Eat Drink is the place for foodies who love to travel and travelers who love to eat. And this time, we're in bustling Bangkok for some of the world's most famous street food, rice whiskey, and rooftop bars. But first, do me a favor and share the podcast with your friends in social media and help us get the word out about Destination Eat Drink. You can also support Destination Eat Drink by purchasing one of my foodie travel guides at buymeacoffee.com/Destination Eat Drink. Just click on the Extras tab and check out the foodie guides to cities like Seville, Lisbon, Milan, and many, many more. They're only $2.99 to $5.99 and cover the best things to eat and drink, as well as the coolest things to do. And your support helps Destination Eat Drink. Thank you very, very much. Lucian Reed Drake is the co-founder of A Chef's Tour, a foodie tour company that takes people around Bangkok, Thailand, as well as several other cities around the world. Lucian's website is achefstour.com. He tells me about visiting Bangkok for the first time as a teenage backpacker and then deciding during COVID to make the move and make Bangkok his home. We talk about how Bangkok balances its historical character while embracing modernity, the best coffee in the city, and an incredible story of the Portuguese woman responsible for many Thai desserts. Okay, I'm starving, so let's eat.
Destination Eat Drink.
Lucian from A Chef's Tour, welcome to Destination Eat Drink. It's great to have you on the show. Looking forward to talking Bangkok.
I'm excited too. Thanks so much for inviting me today.
Now, I can tell from your accent that you're not a native of Bangkok. How did you end up there?
Sawadee krap. Yes, I speak a little bit of Thai, but I am from sunny England myself, and I recently moved actually during the COVID pandemic. It was a tough time for everyone. In previous life, I was a tour guide, but I took the opportunity to start fresh when tourism was down during that period. And I've loved it ever since. First time I came was when I was a mere 18 years old, backpacking many years ago. But coming back has been a real renaissance, and I haven't looked back. It's an amazing city to live in. It's got a lot of raw energy, and I certainly won't be moving back to England anytime soon.
Well, I think a lot of people decided to, take a left turn, reinvent themselves during the pandemic. We certainly did. Sold all our stuff and moved to Portugal. So I'm with you right there, living that new dream. I want to know a little bit about Bangkok because I've never been. And I'm curious, you as a person who's lived there for a few years, besides the food, which we'll obviously talk about, what is your favorite thing or things about living in Bangkok?
So Bangkok is an extremely exciting city. I remember when I first came here as a backpacker, it had that exotic allure that was different to any other city in Southeast Asia. And since coming back and now living here, it's still retained that really quite chaotic and vibrant energy you see on the back streets and the corners of any soi, which is the name for street here, if you explore different neighborhoods. But nowadays, as modernity has caught up, it's got also quite sophisticated scene as well. You've got rooftop bars, you've got new condos, you've got really cool cafe culture too. So it's that combination of the old traditional back streets as well as that new, exciting, innovative future that Bangkok holds. It's really got a heady energy that I enjoy every day, no matter the traffic and the pollution. It's got some things that always keep your heart racing, that's for sure.
When I think about Bangkok, I immediately think of the traditional neighborhoods and things of that nature. And then I started doing some research because I knew I'd be talking with you, Lucian. And my ignorance, I have to plead on this one. I just did not realize all the modern skyscrapers. It looks like any financial capital in the West with all of this modernity. How do you think Bangkok itself is navigating between the traditional and the modern?
Yeah, it's a great question. Well, there's two parts of the city which really illustrate that contrast. Old Bangkok, as it's known, is where the Grand Palace is, and it's where many of the spiritual temples are. And this area is actually prohibited to build skyscrapers and tall condos. When you go there, it's actually one of our tours is there. You can explore the old Bangkok as it always was, and you still see, of course, the palace and the staff of the palace. So that's the original where Bangkok grew up. And then surrounding it, as soon as you enter a new district, suddenly it rises up to this prolific population explosion, which has happened in the last 40 years or so. So I think how they approach it now, they obviously are attracting more and more people from all over the world. And they're, accommodating them in different ways by building up. But still, they've retained those sections, those districts like Old Bangkok, and they've kept those rules to ensure that the traditional heart has never left. And as I mentioned, in the back streets, if you turn away from those skyscrapers, you'll still see, especially the street food, those places which have been there for decades, and they still remain there. They're still proud to live there. So it's a really, every corner you can experience a different age of Bangkok. It's got so much variety.
I'm fascinated with the idea of the street food because Bangkok is so famous for that. But right before we get into that, I just want to ask you, you mentioned speaking a little bit of Thai, and I'm just wondering, as a person who's moved to a new country and is trying to learn a new language, how's your Thai language skills? I can't imagine, I'm trying to learn a language that at least has some connection to English in the way that the grammar is put together, but I can't imagine trying to learn Thai. What's the language barrier been like, and how is your Thai language skills?
Yeah, it's extremely tricky. My fiance's Polish, so I'm learning Polish, and that's hard enough with the lack of vowels and so many consonants. But when you look at Thai, it has a completely different alphabet, one which is, impossible for our Roman alphabet to understand, let alone pronounce from what you see written. And when taking some Thai lessons, you have different tonalities in the Thai language. So one word could have 5 different sounds and then 5 different meanings. So the best way to learn is really just to repeat words as much as you can and practice with your local Thai friends that I'm sure you'll meet quickly because they're an extremely friendly nation of people. But it's not easy, that's for sure. But thankfully, many Thais, they do speak quite an excellent level of English. So you get by, thankfully. But it's always nice to share a few words.
Let's hop into the food aspect of Bangkok and talk about street food. This is probably what Bangkok's cuisine is most famous for, is the street food. And you guys do a really cool street food tour called Bangkok Backstreets. Tell me a little bit, give me an overview of that tour and what are some of your favorite dishes that we might get there?
Yeah, great. I mean, Bangkok is renowned to be a mecca of street food, and it was made all the more popular by a series on Netflix called Street Food Asia, and one of the grandmothers of street food known as Jai Fai, who famously wears these huge goggles and does this wok fried crab omelette, which has now received a Michelin star, which was unheard of a few decades ago for a small street food vendor to receive a Michelin star award. And nowadays in Bangkok, it has really become the thing to do here because people are less worried to perhaps get sick, which is almost their first concern when they see street food. The lack of refrigerators, etc. But what these tours try to do is to celebrate the food cultures of the city. That we visit places that are family-owned vendors that have been going for sometimes 50 or 60 years, and they have a long line of locals that still come, and really just to admire the the impressive nature of these family-owned vendors that are just cooking by that wok for many decades, still going the same recipe, but somehow they retain this loyal crowd. And we have our local guide team who express their passion for their food. They're definitely big foodies, but they have that navigation to take you to places you probably wouldn't be confident to go alone. So this gives you that added sense of confidence once you have a local showing you what to order and what to eat, and also introducing you to these hosts.
So tell me, what is the street food culture like? Because all over the world it's different. Are we talking food stalls, food carts? Is there one particular part of the city where they're concentrated, or is it all over the place? What are we looking at when we're talking street food?
Street food is scattered all over Bangkok, but there are certain areas which have bigger and busier markets, which are obviously the most popular. It's under threat in recent years because the local government are looking to shut these small stalls down, the moving food stalls, and give them a more permanent place, a little bit like the hawker centers, as they're known in Singapore, to give them access to electricity, access to obviously running water, and of course, in return, they charge a rent. So it's a more controlled way of street food. But still, the old faithful have stayed on the streets, and often they have been in that same position on the street for so many years, and they pay a small amount to the local council. And some of the best places which are known for that is Chinatown, which is found, in many of your home cities, you have a Chinatown, but this one is where many of the Chinese Thai population had migrated 200 years ago from the Chao Phraya River. And in fact, many parts of Thai street food is inspired from this Chinese and Thai Chinese diaspora. It's amazing to think that Thailand never had noodles until the Chinese migrated and brought noodles with them. And nowadays they have still these moving street stalls, or they may just have a fixed spot. But you can guarantee they'll be staying there for another few decades because the locals love it. We love to eat out, those that live here. We rarely cook at home because the value is so good. And of course, the taste is even better. So it's a really combination nowadays, and I think they're here to stay.
Whenever I do an episode about South Asia or Southeast Asia, I always look to see what the Chinese migration has been, because every time I talk to someone, I just did an episode on Seoul, South Korea, and he talked to me about the Chinese migration and their influence on Korean cuisine. And, when I did episodes on Vietnam and places like that, it's always this topic, Malaysia, this topic always comes up. And so I looked it up before I was going to talk to you, Lucian. I was like, wow, there have been Chinese people who have been coming to Thailand for 900 years, and they've integrated into the Thai populace so well, but maybe up to 14, 15% of people in Thailand are ethnically Chinese of some sort. So it's fascinating to me. And I'm just wondering, from a food standpoint, you talked about Chinatown, but are there any traditional Thai dishes that you think have a real Chinese influence on them?
Yeah, I mean, their impact is renowned amongst Thai people. Most Thai people you meet, they have an ancestor or a family connected to Chinese tradition, Chinese culture. In fact, I think it's one of the biggest populations of Chinese outside of China globally. So with terms of the food, I mentioned noodles were a staple of Chinese diet that were brought to Thailand. So something which is known as the Thai national dish, Pad Thai, does contain noodles which do have Chinese origins. But what's also interesting is the simple wok, stir-fried foods, which is so commonplace now with street food, actually was a Chinese culinary tradition that was brought by them to all over the city. So definitely the influence in how food is stir fried. So you can think of any classic Thai dish. Normally it involves a wok and some palm oil and cooking something spectacular, often with chili, although the chilies did in fact come from the Portuguese.
Of course.
Yeah, so they weren't so much a Chinese creation. But, you know, the tour we have, although it's in Chinatown, we like to talk about the culinary marriage of Thai and Chinese culinary traditions. So, you know, there is some Thai inspired ingredients in many of the Thai dishes, but there's usually one or two ingredients that might have come from a Chinese perspective.
And when you go to Chinatown, what's your favorite thing to get? What do you always go, okay, we're going to Chinatown. This is the thing I got to get.
I mean, normally I get more than one thing because there's just so many good meals there. But one of my favorites is something called Kwai Jab, which is a pork noodle soup. But it has a rice noodle, which when it's cooked, it rolls into almost like a pasta shape, like a fusilli shape. And with that, they add a heap of pepper, black pepper, to this crispy pork belly. And the place is actually located in an old cinema. So when you walk in, you can see some old movie posters that look like, just 20 years ago, they were still playing movies. Now it's been reconverted. And recently, Michelin awarded them what's known as the Michelin Bib Gourmand, which is not a star, but it's a listing to recognize their efforts for affordable food with excellent quality. And that's all they serve. It's just this one pork noodle dish called Kwai Jab. You can request the organs added to it for extra flavor, but I know many visitors are a bit nervous for that, so you can happily have it without. And it's just so good. It's definitely peppery, but sitting outside this place, looking into the cinema, it's a very special thing I like to do when I head towards Chinatown.
I love the places that just serve one thing. We were in northern Spain recently and went to a city called Logrono that's known for its little plates, for its little tapa type dishes. And there were lots of places that served just one thing. There was one place we went into, they made a tower of mushrooms. And the only decision you had to make, you didn't have to decide on the dish. The only decision you had to make is whether you wanted it with shrimp or without shrimp. That's the only question they ask you. And how many beers do you want with it? And those places inevitably are awesome because they only do one thing. So they better do it good or they're going to close down real quick.
That's right. You go for the specialty. And, these days with so many special diets, it can be difficult for those that have certain requests. But in terms of the people that keep coming back, they know what specialty and they keep to the expertise. So it's renowned all over these street food places. They very rarely extend their menu past their specialty.
I want to ask you about mango sticky rice, because I think this is a pretty famous dish in Bangkok. And speaking of Michelin Bib Gourmand designation, and hats off to Michelin for adding this designation now. They've really widened their scope in the last several years to include places that are more, humble, I guess I would say. And there's a place that serves mango sticky rice called, I think, Khor Panish. And I'm just wondering, mango sticky rice, first of all, describe what it is and how do we find a really good one? Because I think pretty much everyone's making mango sticky rice in Bangkok.
Yeah, I mean, for our tour, we were somewhat hesitant to include it because it is such a classic dish. Our tour likes to focus on something maybe lesser known because when guests come to Thailand in general, everyone's going to eat the mango sticky rice because it's on almost every menu, whether it's a tourist menu or a local restaurant. But to find the best one, I mean, it's really to do with the softness of the mango and the way that they have the rice. They use fried mung beans on top of the rice and it's drenched in coconut milk. And the beauty of a good mango sticky rice is combining the classic flavor profile of Thai food. So they always like to have if possible, spicy, but in this case, it's a dessert, but a sweet, a bit of sour, kind of combination of all different flavors. So in this case, we've got the slight blandness of the sticky rice, the sweetness of the mango, then that coconut milk also balances some of that flavor with the fried mung beans. And for the place you mentioned, Cape I think really it's just the freshness of the mango that makes it, but also the way they appropriate each of those flavors. And not all rice is as crispy and as delicious as the next one. So, we always say street food was not created equal, even though they sell the same thing. You really have to look out for the best ones, because they're the ones which have the long lines and the reputations.
I love when the rice gets crispy, and I love when the mango is perfectly ripe. We grow, and when I say we, I mean Portugal. We grow in southern Portugal these little baby mangoes, and I think the season just started here, and I bought a couple, and I was disappointed because when I got into it, it was still not quite ripe, so it was a little bit disappointing. I think I need to wait a little bit longer in the season to get a good one. So good advice about looking for the freshest, ripest mangoes. I don't know how you would tell. I guess you got to go to one of these places with a long line, like you said, Lucian.
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, it's a matter of research. I mean, don't just pick up the one which serves it on the menu. Look out for, I mean, there's things online, but really look out for those ones which you can see with more locals than tourists, because they know that amazing complex flavor, the saltiness of the rice and the sweetness of the mango. It's that combination which creates their notoriety.
Let's talk about a couple other famous dishes in Bangkok. And I want to ask you about something, and you're going to have to excuse my pronunciations on these. Obviously, I don't speak Thai, but I'll do my best. I think the Thai language, when they translate to English, they try to make it as phonetic as possible. So maybe I'll struggle through a little bit. But with that said, I want to ask you about a specific dish called Miang Kham. Am I saying that right? And what can you tell me about that dish?
Great, Brent. You're excellent. I'm really impressed. It's not an easy language to master. So, no, I understood. And I'm sure that the locals would too. I'm so glad you mentioned this one, because it is something which is probably not on every visitor's menu or radar when they come to Thailand. And you can only find it in really local places, local market, or a Thai restaurant that really, shows all of the classic dishes. Miang in Thai actually means assorted, and Kiam literally means one bite. So everything is mixed in this bite-sized wrap, and the basis of the wrapping is what's known as betel leaves. These thrive in Thailand's rainy season from May to October. And then the leaves are laid out, and you can either make it yourself or the person can make it for you. And you put this explosion of flavors inside. So typically there is dried shrimp, peanuts, dried or normally roasted coconut meat, coconut sugar, shallots, which is like an onion, ginger, and also slices of lime, including the peel. And if you're feeling brave and you want to be like a local, then you can add a fresh chili. These are green bird's eye chili peppers usually. Don't be deceived by the size. They say the smallest chilies are the most spicy. So you can also put just a small piece of that chili in. And then once you've put all of these ingredients inside the leaf, you wrap it up and then you eat it all as one. They call it the food bomb because it will explode in your mouth with all those different flavors. But it ticks off all those boxes. You've got the sweetness of the syrup, the sourness of the lime pulp, the bitterness of the lime skin as well, bit of saltiness from the shrimps and the nuts, and then the umami flavor with the fish sauce, which is also added to it. Not to mention the richness of the coconut and the spice as well. So this is really something which is a bit of a DIY. You make it yourself into this fantastic snack. But the history of it's fantastic too, because it dates back to King Rama V, one of the revered kings of Thailand, over 100 years ago. He talked about this in his book. They used to use pickled tea leaves, and if you ever go to perhaps a temple ceremony or some special occasion in Thailand, they may have myang kam, but with lotus leaves as well. But the betel leaves are known to be a nice appetizer, and it's also helps the body cool down in the summer heat, because it sure is hot here. And I do love to have these as a fantastic snack. And every time I have visitors, I normally get them to take some home with them, because it's difficult to find outside of Thailand.
I'm familiar with the betel leaves from episodes I've done about India, but I don't think these are the same ones that have the psychoactive properties in them. Is that correct?
That's right, yes. I mean, we do have a tour in India, and those ones, they have a little bit more kick to them, and sometimes they mix them with tobacco and things. No, this is healthy, and this is not going to make you feel different, other than utterly satisfied in terms of its deliciousness.
Other than making your stomach happy. It sounds amazing because of all the different flavors that you're putting in there, the sweet and the peppery, and the vinegar or the sour from the limes. I would love to pop one of those in my mouth. It sounds fantastic. Can we talk a little bit about desserts? I want to talk about this steamed coconut pudding called Kanam Tue. And I'm just wondering, is this something that we would have for breakfast, lunch, dinner? Because when we think of sweets in the West, it's often as a dessert comes at the end for maybe lunch, but probably dinner. And I'm wondering, first of all, describe this dish, and when would we be eating it?
Yeah, another great choice. Kanam Tue is a traditional Thai dessert. It also has that mix of sweet and salty taste. It's renowned because they have these small ceramic bowls which they make them in. There's like a cooked coconut sugar on the lower layer, and then they add coconut milk and salt on the top layer. And it's simply steamed for about 5 to 10 minutes. And you can add some things like pandan leaf, which is often used as a green coloring, this leaf, which slightly changes the flavor too. Or butterfly pea, which has a light blue, or some say purple color. They say it's similar to a French creme brulee, but it's much lighter. And it's commonly found mostly in local markets. So at lunchtime, you can have them. Thais do have a bit of a sweet tooth. I must admit that palm sugar is in almost everything, including the savory dishes. So their affinity to having any time of day those type of desserts is certainly something that happens, all time of day, whether it's at the start of a meal, at the end of a meal. It's also quite refreshing, especially in the humidity. But if you're used to having a dessert at the end of the meal, it's definitely a sweet thing to try. So perhaps it could be a nice treat at the end of something. But we have it all times of day because it is a light, refreshing, and really tasty small dessert, which is extremely inexpensive as well.
Do you have any other favorite desserts that you have living in Bangkok?
There's a few. There's quite an interesting mix of desserts here. One in particular, which is a bit unusual, but I must admit not everyone likes it, is like an egg custard flan. It also uses mung beans, coconut milk with egg. Interestingly, the lactose and milk, cow's milk, is rarely used for desserts here. It's a little bit different to perhaps what you're used to, but the coconut milk is the key feature. And this egg custard flan actually has a rather unusual savory addition. This has a crispy fried shallots. Again, we got that savory complementing the sweet. So shallots are on top, all nice and crispy, again, different texture. And the history of this dish is what I also love to explore, is a famous Portuguese history. In fact, this lady called Maria Guarama de Pina, she was known as the creator of many Thai desserts we see today. She lived in a place called Ayutthaya, which was the old capital of Siam, the old name for Thailand, about 300 years ago. And she, during the Siamese Revolution between Siam and France, actually was captured by the Siam leader, and she was forced to work in the royal kitchens. But even after she was freed, she actually stayed there, and she has been credited to a number of desserts we see in the Thai menu today. Some like Thong Yop, Thong Yip, and Thoi Tong. These are names which always use egg yolk as an ingredient.
Of course.
Yes, you can see why the Portuguese tradition has worn off here. Sometimes, it's a byproduct of the heavy use of the egg whites. And also, the Thais are very auspicious. They often believe in luck, and the golden color was known to be auspicious, so it symbolizes a long life or undying love. So it was often used in the royal ceremonies. But now today, if you look at a selection of Thai desserts, usually you can find this thong, this golden egg yolk, added to the ingredients. There was quite a famous historical drama series called Love Destiny, which if you ask any Thai, they know about this. It's an Anglo-Thai actress called Susila Nena. And she portrayed this lady, Maria Guanama. So 300 years of history have come alive still today. And if you've been to Portugal, I know you're living there at the moment, you'll see some similarities, but it's rather unusual. The name is Kanom Morgang. Kanom is a common word for like a small dessert taste, Moakang, and that has the fried shallots. So it's not for everyone, but it's definitely one of the classic egg desserts you'll find here. A bit of, again, combination of savory and sweet.
That is a fascinating story. I never knew the Portuguese were there, and I'm so happy to hear that they're importing the desserts as well. Did Portugal have a colony in Thailand, or I'm wondering why she was even there in the first place?
Yeah, that's interesting too. Well, Siam actually has never been colonized by any other country. It's one of the only Asian countries that's never been colonized. This was actually a lady who was from a family of Portuguese ancestry and married a Greek adventurer. His name was Constantine Phocon. And he was rising as a minister of foreign affairs in the Thai royal court. So he is a political connection as opposed to the colonizer connection, although you can find an old Portuguese settlement in Ayutthaya. As I mentioned, this is the former capital, so nowadays it has numerous temples and history dating back more than 300 years. But yeah, one of the revolutions between Siam and France, a different country, involved her being captured. So although there was no colony, there were certainly a few battles, especially with the Burmese. And in the midst of that, she ended up being in the royal kitchens. So it's amazing, how these culinary traditions can not only migrate, but also come from unlikely stories.
Let's talk about some drinks, because whenever I talk to folks in South Asia, Southeastern Asia, I'm always kind of blown away by how coffee has taken a hold. And I'm just wondering about coffee culture in Bangkok. What kind of coffee would we be drinking, first of all?
Yeah, the coffee here is a bit different, as is the tea. If you want to try local coffee beans or local tea, it would come from the north of the country, where they have mountainous hills and, of course, the coffee plantations. This is north around the Chiang Mai area, if you've heard of a city called Chiang Mai. The coffee there is quite bitter, so there's certainly an influx now of Colombian coffee, and Ethiopian coffee are the favorites. But because Bangkok in particular has this rather modern, cosmopolitan, I would say hip youth, coffee shops are sprouting everywhere nowadays, quite cool and still very inexpensive. You can get a really good coffee for just around $3 in most places, a nice air conditioned and really well designed place. So that has taken off most definitely, and yeah, you can find both international and local coffees here in Thailand. One recommendation I would really explore with your listeners is heading to Talad Noi, which is a part near to Chinatown, close to the river. The river is this artery running through Bangkok, which you should see once here. Many people that come here never see the river because they're surrounded by so many skyscrapers. But you can sit there, and they've got an old street murals there, a lot of street art. They've got like old mechanics still working out there with their old equipment, and you'll find all these old antique houses and some old temples. You can sit by the river, and there's plenty of really fantastic coffee shops to head to, and it's definitely worth a few hours exploring, because most people, they just head to Chinatown for the street food, but the next neighborhood along, I really recommend heading there for a great coffee. The name, once again, is Talad Noi. You'll definitely enjoy it there, and you'll get to see the river.
Great recommendation. Let's talk about Thai rice whiskey, the so-called Lao Khao. I've never had it. I'm curious about it. What can you tell me about it?
Whew, well, if you want a fun night, you can start with the Lad. Okay. Yeah. Very strong, very strong. When I first came here, my Thai friends certainly introduced me in a loud and animated way. It is something which is very high in percentage, but normally only had as a shot, although you can buy bottles. We do actually have one shot of it on our street food tour, because it is such a part of local culture. It's worth trying. Lad Krau initially comes from rice, so it was made with glutinous rice. This was distilled into a white spirit, typically a homemade spirit is the best Lad Krau. You can find this nowadays in 7-Eleven or any small vendor. If you want to buy a bottle, it's around 60 baht, which is $2 for a bottle, small bottle. Otherwise, you can get a shot from a local stall for around 10 baht, which is around 20 cents in dollars. And it's got a kick. It's around 40%. Another variation of Lad Krau is Yadong, which is considered a rice whiskey, and this is infused with a handful of herbs, roots, and spices. It's typically a darker color, and it's supposed to be a medicinal remedy, although some Thais would tell you it's got some libido skills, and it makes the everyone strong and happy and a bit of an aphrodisiac. So I would pair that with a small plate of sour unripe mango. That's typically had with it. It's like a green color, slightly hard unripe mango, and you dip that in a combination of salt, sugar, and chili. It's called prik gua. We have this on the tour too, so yeah, you can maybe balance that flavor again with something. But yeah, a few shots is enough. Nowadays, I know they refine it more so with molasses, which is like refining sugarcane or sugar beet juice, but the classic was always made from glutinous rice, the staple here. So try it if you dare. But yeah, it certainly gets tonight, and it kicked off to a good start.
You talked about the contrast between the traditional and the modern Bangkok. And one of the things that you mentioned earlier was these rooftop bars. And I saw an article on your website about rooftop bars, and you guys must have gone through 25 really cool rooftop bars. And this to me kind of shows the modernity of Bangkok. Can you talk about this phenomena of rooftop bars and what we could expect if we were to go visit one?
Yeah, I mean, it's a rite of passage nowadays to head to at least one whilst you're here and see the sunset. With the proliferation of condominiums and hotels, there's always that space on top to put a bar and have that magnificent viewpoint overlooking the skyline, looking down at the Sky Train, which is this elevated train that runs through the city. You can certainly see the river from there with the sunset if it's a clear day. It creates quite a special atmosphere. and around Sukhumvit, which is a lot of where the expats live, but it's the developed center location of the city. There is scattering of these places. My favorite is probably Above 11 or Octave. And with this, you've got cool music, you've got not too expensive cocktails, and you've got just the thrill of that viewpoint. There are viewpoints around the city which you can go as a tourist and pay a ticket, but why not get a drink with it and enjoy the normally quite lovely surroundings of the hotel bar or the condominium bar, and it really creates a nice memory, especially at that sunset period. So I certainly recommend it. If you come here, go to at least one. It is worth it for the views.
I would imagine we probably won't have Thai rice whiskey while we're enjoying the sunset from one of these rooftop bars. What kind of Thai cocktails could we expect? I have to imagine that coconut milk is somehow involved in a cool Thai cocktail.
Yeah, great. That's true, of course. I mean, there's all sorts of combos. Even I've seen ones with kaffir lime leaves and ingredients for Thai curry and a cocktail. But something you should try whilst you're here is Samsung, which is a Thai rum which has been popularized throughout the country. And this can be combined with all of your classic rum cocktails. But they say Samsung, and I have to agree, doesn't give you a hangover, so that must be a bonus. But it's a really tasty rum. It's not too harsh, and it's got a slight sweetness to it. So I would recommend trying any cocktail with Samsung. It's worth it. It's definitely got a great flavor, not too strong.
Well, Lucian from A Chef's Tour, it's been great talking to you. If folks want to get in touch with you, they can go on achefstour.com. You guys started in Bangkok. You have tours all over the place now, so lots of cool places to explore, including Bangkok. Thank you so much for being on the show. It's been great talking to you and learning about the cuisine and the culture of Bangkok.
My pleasure, and I'd love to welcome you here once again. And anytime we introduce each other in Thailand, we say, "Have you eaten rice yet?" That's the the common greeting here. So I hope you'll come and eat when you visit this city.
I lived in Rhode Island for many years, and that's the equivalent of jeet. Did you eat? But it's J''EET. Jeet.
Fantastic. I have to learn that one. That's great.
Okay, that's Lucian from A Chef's Tour. Like I said, you can reach Lucian or book a tour at achefstour.com. He's certainly got his finger on the pulse of Bangkok. Sounds like he's carved out a great life for himself there. Well, that's it for this week. Next week, we are in Marrakesh for couscous on Friday, a labyrinth of 20 markets, and a Moroccan donut called sfenj. Don't miss that. Until then, Destination Eat Drink is open for business. Get over there to check out my latest article about a magnificent palace in Portugal where the royal family spent their last night before their exile to England. You can read that at destinationeatdrink.com/blog. I also just posted a new video. It's about life in Portugal and whether I should call myself an immigrant or an expat. And while that may not sound like it's a controversial subject, it actually is. You can see that by clicking on the video tab at destinationeatdrink.com or by going to youtube.com/@destinationeatdrink946. And guess what? I'm also on Substack now. You can check out my stories about life in Portugal at destinationeatdrink.substack.com. And finally, I posted a bunch of foodie travel guides at Buy Me a Coffee. Lisbon, Porto, Cordoba, Seville, lots and lots of others. I share all the best things to eat and drink there that I've discovered during my travels and the best places to get them, plus the best things to see and do. You can buy and download the ebooks at buymeacoffee.com/destinationeatdrink and click on the extra tabs. And thank you very, very much. Destination Eat Drink is distributed by the Radio Misfits Podcast Network and Ed Silla. Thanks, Ed. I'm Brent Peterson, and I'll see you down the road.
Join us next week for another culinary adventure on Destination Eat Drink, a presentation of the Radio Misfits Podcast Network.